I want to yield for as much time as he needs. A colleague of mine, a classmate of mine from the state of Texas, who has co-sponsored H.R. 693, Mr. Randy Weber, and I appreciate your work on this important topic.
Well, thank you to my friend from Florida, Mr. Yoho, for yielding the floor and for leading this special order and introducing H.Res. 693. Mr. Speaker, as of yesterday, the Obama presidency is 90% over. So let's do a quick recap of just what has happened these past 7.5 years. First, the president has violated the Constitution by unilaterally changing sections of the Affordable Care Act at least 23 times without congressional approval. That's Public Law 111-148. Even though he said probably on 20-some occasions he didn't have constitutional authority to do things, he still did it. Number two, the President and the Department of Justice were in direct violation of their constitutional responsibility in defending the Defense of Marriage Act, which is Public Law 104-199. The President and his Department of Injustice continue to choose not to enforce federal drug laws, Public Law 91-513, the Controlled Substances Act, and Public Law 106-90, the Anti-Drug Abuse Act of 1986. The President violated the Constitution by making presidential appointments to the National Labor Relations Board and the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau while Congress was not in session, so declared by him. Now, I've read the Constitution, Mr. Speaker. Only the Senate Majority Leader can decide when the Senate's in session, not the President. And I might add, the President was slapped down by the Supreme Court 9-0. Further, the President and the Department of Injustice abused executive privilege in the Operation Fast and Furious scandal by refusing to comply with the subpoena issued by the Committee on Oversight and Government Reform of the United States House of Representatives, thereby violating Section 192 of Title II, the U.S. Code. The President has violated the law by unilaterally changing our nation's immigration laws with regards to deferred action, giving illegal aliens access to government programs and tax credits funded by our constituents, which is in contravention to our Constitution. The President and the Department of Health and Human Services failed to enforce federal law, Public Law 111-5, by illegally waiving the work requirements for welfare recipients. Under this President, the IRS has violated the First Amendment to the United States Constitution by targeting nonprofit organizations because of their religious or political beliefs. The President and the Department of Defense knowingly violated the National Defense Authorization Act, NDAA, of 2014 by not providing a 30-day notice to Congress prior to transporting 5 Guantanamo detainees to Qatar in a prisoner swap. They got, some would say in military terms, that the terrorists got 5 nuclear weapons and we got 1 conventional weapon, which turned out to be a dud. The President and his administration continue to move forward with his plan to close the Guantanamo detention facility and move the detainees. And by the way, did you know that 1 out of 3 prisoners released rejoin their terrorist organizations and wind up at the front lines, seeking to kill yet more Americans? Folks, it is the duty of the legislative branch to write and pass laws, the judicial branch to interpret those laws, and the executive branch's duty to enforce those same laws. The very success of our form of government comes from this simple balance of powers. This critically important founding principle is currently being trampled on by this President, while most of our citizens may not even be aware of its damaging implications. You know, our nation's laws are not mere suggestions to be dismissed on a whim. Our laws are binding. If we in Congress allow this or any president to ignore the rule of law, then we allow the foundation of our nation to be shattered. I thank my colleague, Mr. Yoho, for introducing this resolution, of which I'm a proud co-sponsor. Mr. Speaker, there you have it. You know I'm right.
I'd like to thank my colleague from Texas, and I appreciate you standing up for the law, the rule of law, because if we're not a nation of law, everything falls apart. Civil